Hello everyone, welcome back to another Pokemon stream, your first Pokemon stream, whatever it is. Hello, welcome on in! My hair is an absolute hot mess of a bird's nest today, and we are going to cover it up with headphones. Alrighty. I don't know if this works or not, but we'll see. Hello, it's Monday. Hello, Oliver. I have an Oliver here. He's on the table. Let me see if I can get him to come closer. Sir? Sir? Come here. Come here. Come on. Yeah! Oh my god, did you hear him meow? Wait. No! Do it again. Hello, sir. Hi. Could you meow for the people? For the people? Do it for the people. Come on. Do the meow. No? Okay, no meows. You only got one. I hope you heard it. I have cat fur all over my face. Nitty! Welcome on in. Well, during today's stream, we're about to find out exactly how much cat fur went up my nose. Just now. This is bound to be interesting. But hello, happy Monday everyone! I really hope you guys can start off your Monday and actually having heard Oliver's meow, because it's the cutest thing ever. And I want that for you. I want you to be able to hear him meow, because he's a cutie. I would like to take over 1 minute of stream. Do I get permission? Permission granted. Nitty, you may share what you need to share. Take over, honey. While I try to fix this bird nest on my head. You got very good news on Thursday. Okay, I'm excited for you. I don't even know what it is. I can feel you typing from 4,000 kilometers away. Wait, what? What the? Oh my god! I don't know how this happened. Basically, I blocked some, but I didn't touch anything. I didn't touch anything. I'm gonna read the message that Nightbot deleted. Nitty wrote, I am getting my very first promotion in life! Woo! Go Nitty, go Nitty, go Nitty. Promotion? Oh. If that's the word, then that would explain a lot. Because when I started streaming, I got a lot of people in chat just saying like, promotion this or promo that, so I blocked all those terms. Sorry. Because like my entire chat at some point, before all of you lovelies decided to pop in every day, my entire chat at some point was just, hey, promo this, hey, promotion that, hey, pay for this, hey, pay for that. So I was just like, block it all. Apologies. Apologies. I banned the links. Yeah, the thing is that most of them would send that and then send the link separately, so I had to like ban them separately. So that didn't help. But congratulations, Nitty! We're so excited for you! Woo! Savage, can you fix this? Because I know you can see this. Can you fix it? How do we fix this? Symbio, welcome on in. Nitty just got timed out for like 15 minutes. Nitty, what'd you do? I'm so confused. Nitty is laughing. Wait, what did you do? You tried a different variation of the P word? Like what, promo? Because that's like a different variation. I cannot tell, literally. I understand. I don't, but I do. But I don't, but I do. But I don't, but I do. But I don't, but I do. You're also gonna get timed out. Dang, dude. I am sorry. I just had too many of them coming in hot when I started out, and I just got really annoyed at it. So apologies, but those terms are indeed blocked. For future reference, whenever you get your next promotion, because if you get one, at some point you're gonna get another one. I feel like that's how it works. So like, you got promoted now, and then like in a year, or maybe 2 years, you'll get it again. Cause I know how jobs work. At least your mods can still say it. Imagine. That's great. Listen, I'm glad I'm bringing some shred of happiness to people today, okay? Even if it is by dumb things that I did when I first started streaming like 2.5 years ago. If you stay in this company. There you go. If they want you to stay in the company, they better pay you to stay in the company. Yes. You make bank. You go make that money. Or the extra vacation days. Whichever one floats your boat when you made the dealings. But yes. But can I brag a little? Brag all you want. You deserve it. You deserve the brag. I will leave my funnies for when I'm shiny hunting. For Nitty deserved the spotlight today. Barry, hello, welcome on in. Good, but I am the only one who's misread the stream title. Pom pom burb, be shine, please. That's what I wrote. What did you misread it as? If I dare ask. It's in my currency, so it's way less than euros or USD or GP, but I'm getting into 6 figures a year. Woo! Do people do math like that? Like, I never understood when people like ask like, oh, what do you make? And people are like, oh, I make like 60,000 a year, or I make like 70,000. I'm just like, and that's how much per month? Like, because if I go do that math, then it's depressing, dude. It is depressing what we make here. Change the M to an N and add an R between the O and N. I think I see what you mean. And I think you might need glasses. Yeah. Glasses. Glasses. You know, some of these? So yeah. Oh, I think, wait, I missed a message. I think monthly, but they made my offer in yearly and I got a little excited. I mean, to be fair, it looks similar to M. But I get your mind out of the gutter, sir. Yes, get your mind out of the gutter, sir. I would never, ever, unless it's a very, very large typo, which I tend to try my best to avoid, especially when it comes to stream titles. Yeah, no, that's, no. No. Also, like, the R and the N are, like, opposite places in the keyboard, so there's, like, no way to, like, make that work. Like, ever. So, Shut up! Nobody saw those! Shh, savage! Don't be mean! I know. Gecko Boy, hello, welcome on in! How are we doing? Good afternoon? To you? You think? Maybe? I don't know. Is it evening? I don't remember y'all's time zones anymore. Yeah. But anyway, Nitty, congratulations! Monkey King, welcome on in. Hello. Oh my god, so many lovelies at the start of stream. How are we doing, everyone? Guys, we got some shiny hunting to do today. I might actually do some raids as well. And if I decide to do raids, I'm gonna need your help, so please stick around. And Nitty, congratulations! Do I have balloons? I don't think I have balloons. Wait, do I have confetti? Should I get confetti? I can get a confetti gift. That's the best I can do. Should I get a confetti gift? I'm gonna get a confetti gift. For me, it's 9:49 p.m. Okay. So, evening for Barry. So far, so good. Just trying to fight a Pokemon with the move hold hands for my move decks. Plusle and Minun have that, I think? I wonder how many times I'd have to say the... Yeah, where... Same. Typos. Typos. I don't know, but like Nitty, maybe you shouldn't try. 'Cause... you're fun to be around in chat. So, and I don't know how half of the buttons work. So, if Automod bans you, I don't know how to undo that. Check DMs? Oh no. Ah, it's on a different screen. Hold on. I forgot to shimmy this over there. Okay. Yes, of course. Yes. I would do it myself, but I don't know how. You can always unban me. /unban nickname. Oh. I learned that today, and by tomorrow I'll be forgotten of it again. That wasn't a sentence. I will have forgotten it again. Not helping hand, hold hands. It's an event. Oh, apologies, good sir. I have misread. Nitty got a promotion. Everybody go congratulate Nitty. She been making more money. Whoop, whoop. Go Nitty. Get the bank. Get the bank. Go Nitty. Everybody party. We're doing great for a Monday morning, evening, afternoon. Nitty! Nitty, what are you doing? We're supposed to celebrate you! I almost took a shower. Do I just... It wasn't spit, it was water. It's still kind of dripping everywhere. But we're good. I think we're good. I misread something, get glasses. Sasha misread something, get better glasses. Sure, Barry. I'll take it. Don't make me laugh when I'm trying to drink water. Things don't go well for me when that happens, okay? Can't do that. I almost took a shower over here. My chin's still wet. Or, I don't know if this is water or sweat at this point. Don't make me laugh. I'm not looking at chat. Hydrated. You don't read when you drink. Well, I mean, I try to do everything at the same time, and so inevitably sometimes things go wrong. So, you know? What am I gonna do about it? It's just how it is. Anywho, we got a burb to go hunt, so let's go shake it like a pom-pom, like a pom-pom. Multitasking that kills people. Wait, who's Carl? I don't know a single person named Carl. It's not a common name here. I know Carlos. And I know Carlão. And I also know Bruno is destroying my house right now? Our house right now? I don't know what he's doing. Llamas with hats? Huh? Wait. Are you telling me llamas with hats are Carl? Oh, you innocent soul. Don't know the meme videos? I have to admit, yes, I don't know a lot. I only really started diving into the internet in the past, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so. So there's a lot that I don't know, but I do know something. Smosh is back in the hands of the originals, so that could be interesting. Tasha, you make me feel old, but I'm older than you, Symbio. What do you mean I'm making you feel old? I heard good for that. I was like, yeah, good for them. I've actually really been enjoying watching the Anthony Padilla, like the interviews, the like spend a day with interviews. Those are really interesting. Dude's doing a good job there. But yeah. Yeah, the more older internet is sometimes falls into a dark zone of I skipped right past that, so yeah, doing so good. Bought back from, yeah, I know. I saw the videos, plural. I saw them. Anyway, guys, we got some shiny hunting to do, and I may or may not have some funnies to tell you. So I'm gonna go to the shiny hunting stream, and we're gonna go and do that. Okay, so pring! Timing my prings perfectly. Now, for starters, I did connect to online before starting stream to like get the most updated raid den situations. So with that said, there is a crystal right here, so we're just gonna go and check that. And apparently we're gonna go fight a Hariyama first, because why not? Why not do that? Give me 1 second. As I was saying, dang it, fine! It was only for a second though! Yeah, Bruno was kind of screaming, and he's not allowed to scream when I'm screaming on stream, so yeah, he's not allowed to do that. So there you have it. My chair got shipping code. Woo! Go chair! Everybody's getting new stuff. I had a trip to IKEA myself. Bought a bunch of cool things. Kind of like life-changing reorganization. for my kitchen, and I am very proud of it. And yes, my kitchen. Bruno don't cook. He got no say in it. He's not allowed to do that. No, he is not. Okay, he's not. Okay. I claim some things for myself, and this time period where I'm streaming is my time period. He is not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to scream when I'm the one that's allowed to scream. So, with that said, selfish little me is apparently gonna check some raid dens to try and figure out also where the hell I need to find those flowers again. Because I don't actually know where I'm going. Which is always a bonus. But yeah. Everybody's getting new things. So Nitty got a promotion, Savage got a chair, I got some upgrades for my kitchen. That is a 5-star raid that I would like to do. Anyone else got things for themselves? Cause now is the time to share. I need something with fighting moves. If anyone would like to join this raid, do it now. The code is on the screen. Do it now. NTFL9Y, please. Please help me out with this one. I'll go shiny hunting afterwards. Good evening, sir. How you doing, Polly? Do you have news to share with people? This is gonna be what I'm asking anyone that's coming into stream today. Everybody's got news to share today. Polly, do you got news to share today too? Woke up 17 hours ago, went work. Wheat price is chips. Bad day. Okay. Well, then let me tell you a little story while I beg for people to please join me with this raid, because I definitely need help. Let me tell you a little story that might actually make you laugh a bit. Okay? Okay. Today, on my way back from work after lunch, I saw something that made me think that we are all doomed. I know, starts really cheerful, doesn't it? Last year, the same agricultural area of wheat. This year, around 30. Oh, that's like a third, almost. That is very bad. That is very, very bad. Okay, well, let me start off my story. Because that might actually make people laugh. Okay. So I was on my way back to work from lunch break, and I saw something that made me think, we're doomed. Society is doomed. Like, this is our future, we're doomed. Hold on, it gets better. So, essentially, we had, like, sidewalks. Wow, we have sidewalks, guys. So, we have, like, sidewalks, and, on one side of the sidewalk, there were these two girls walking in one direction. You know, just dressed for the summer, shorts, a top, nothing. Yeah, dude, I have sidewalks, could you believe it? But yeah, so these two girls were walking, nothing too bad, you know, shorts, tank top, the usual, it's freaking hot, it's summer. And on the other side of the road, in the opposite walking in the opposite direction, there were these three guys. And I kid you not, this is some Johnny Bravo kind of shindigs that were happening here, because like I could have not made this up even if I wanted to. The dudes spotted the girl, and once they spotted the girl, the first thought that apparently ran into their minds was to take off their shirts and start doing like and just like hey girl. And I'm just like, what the actual hell am I witnessing over here? I'm just like, what are you, Johnny Bravo? Like what in the world was happening here? Macaroni, welcome on in. How we doing? Happy Monday. Do you have news to share? Because everyone's had news to share today. Is that how you approach girls? I'm confused. No, you do not Johnny Bravo girls, okay? Nobody likes that. But the fact that they were literally in the middle of the road, guys. Come on. Like, they were in the middle of the sidewalk on a busy road, and they just decided, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take off my shirt, and I'm gonna bang, show the muscles, which wasn't even that much, by the way. They were not like jacked. Like nothing impressive going on there, but still, like everyone was just staring at them like, what the actual frick are you doing? The girls didn't even really notice them. Like, they took a peek and then just kept walking, and they actually sped up. And I was just like, checks out, girls. You run for the hills. Just like, who does it? Who is walking in the middle of the road? Like, not even near a beach nor anything. Like, who's walking in the middle of the road and then suddenly just takes their shirt off and starts doing like muscle, like bodybuilding moves? And I'm just like, what is happening here? Well, is a girl would go with them? Are they the same level of intelligence? So natural selection either way. Yeah, the girls did not give them the time of day. I mean, also, luckily, they were, like, on the other side of the road. And they were, like, more or less, like, in between where the two crosswalks were. And you can't really cross that road during the day outside of a crosswalk because you risk getting run over by a car. Because that's what crosswalks are for, so that you don't get run over by a car. So it was very good for them that they were just on the opposite side of the road, because that would have been just very bad. That would have been, I think that would, like, if they were on the same side of the road, that was like, always being run over by, I'm sorry. No, I'm a pretty decent driver, okay? And I do not say that myself. People have told me this. And not just that. Me and Bruno, for many weeks / months, have been in an argument about who of us is the better driver. Okay? And we finally have a definitive answer from Bruno's mom, who is a professional taxi driver. Okay? And the result is, I'm a better driver than Bruno. And yes, Bruno is a taxi driver, but according to his mom, I drive better. So I win. And I'm sure he's listening from the room next door. I win! I bet Bruno is better at it. Support the man living on the street restaurant. No, it's not that he drives worse, it's that I drive better. Okay? That's how this works. I mean, working. Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. I know what you mean. I understood. So, I can say whatever you want. I win. Sounded weird when I read. I'm doing so good. So I'm not gonna try to repeat that raid. We're gonna check this raid and then we're gonna go on to find the flower patch. Because that's where we're gonna shiny hunt. So when are you becoming combined driver? Okay. What do you mean, when am I becoming combined driver? I'm not gonna combine myself with Bruno. That would just make me a worse driver. Kidding. Not really, but kidding. Also, Barry asked about this earlier, but no, I have not checked weapon checks. Hereby weapon check. I would like to inform that I am indeed wearing sweatpants. Shorts form! What? Tongue is sticking out? No! Dang it! I am losing it here. I'm losing it here. I got shorts, and they are sweatpants. They are sweatpants shorts. All right, okay. Where's the flowers? I feel like we're in the totally wrong area for this. But like for real though? Sweatpants shorts, guys. This was the strat. This was definitely the strat. A very, very good idea on my behalf, I must say. Shorts and sweatpants are a good combo. Yes, Chapman, hello, welcome on in. Would you have some news to share with the people? For that is apparently what we are doing today. That is a 4-star. How we doing, sir? I got shorts. I gotta wear, so I wear them shorts every day. I do not know what that song is, but here we go. You know, so I got bills. It's not ringing a bell, no. Long time no speak. Shorts are good in the summertime, yes. Especially when it's absolutely freaking bloody hot and nobody has any business being this infuriatingly hot. So, there is that. Why is combine spelled same way and means two different things? Yeah, you made me look. Oh my god, that's why you were silent for so long, dude. Holy crap. Okay. Yeah, so would you like to explain what you meant with combine? Because I'm not planning on merging with Bruno to drive. I can do that without merging with him, you know? And the song is super funny. What are you hunting? Pom-pom! Shake it like a pom-pom, like a pom-pom, shake it like a pom-pom, like a pom-pom now. Shiny look, thank you, Meeperoni! I definitely need it. Okay, we should make a sandwich. Is a freaking machine called Combine and you drive it? I'm sorry, I do not have a license to operate heavy machinery. I have a license to operate a car, which is technically also heavy machinery, but like not that heavy. Lunch Money Lewis Bills is the song if you want to know. I don't know why every time you say Bills, I just hear Destiny's Child. I don't think that's what we're looking for. Should I see? Let me see here. One thing. Do I have prosciutto? I want to try. I have prosciutto. I have 3 prosciuttos to be precise. Technically, that means I have 5 prosciuttos. I got 3 here and 2 on my legs. Ah, say brain! Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna try to fly. I'm gonna try to make a flying sandwich instead. Cause like it's a flying type too, I think. Or a choreo. Either that or I'm wasting a sandwich. We're fine. Doing so good, guys. Doing so good. Use a parasol. Let's use a parasol. Alrighty. Now I must focus on the prosciutto. Why does the prosciutto look like bacon? Can somebody explain why this prosciutto looks like bacon? This does not look like prosciutto whatsoever. This looks like full-on bacon. Like thinly sliced bacon. Did you save before you made a sandwich? No, I did not, because I just didn't. I'm sure I'll be fine. I mean, everything's flat. Because you never saw real bacon? Because prosciutto is ham? No. Prosciutto is not ham. Prosciutto is just as much ham as bacon is ham. Okay? Don't. Prosciutto is not ham. Ham is ham, and prosciutto is prosciutto. Those are two separate things. There's two entire different aisles at the supermarket. Listen, I do not know much, but I know that prosciutto and ham are in two separate sections of the supermarket. Okay? Okay? So, like, prosciutto is in one part of the supermarket, and ham is in the same, like, cold section, but it's like in a different entirely section. You have all of the hams, and you have all of your sausages, and then you have all your bacon, and then you have all your prosciutto. So that just means that they're not the same thing. And that is my judgment. If a pig leg is a ham and a pig leg is a prosciutto, is a pig leg magic? No. A pig leg is I have no rebuttal for that. Because it technically does all come from the same place, doesn't it? But like, where does bacon come from? Because I thought... But like... But... Bacon is the belly? I don't know meat. So wait, does that mean that my prosciutto legs are also ham? Starting to think I maybe should not have made a flying sandwich. Not sure how it applies to humans. Okay. Well, I have legs. They are thick. Of fat. So would that make them prosciutto or would that make them bacon? Or not bacon, ham. Like, this is a genuine question, guys. Both? Depends on the process. Well, the process is remaining on my legs, so I guess that would just be legs. I would need to smoke them mature for at least 2 years, and then I can tell you for sure. Holy crap, really that long? Your legs can be anything, ham can be. Okay. Yeah. One day, I should do a cooking stream. And everyone's just gonna be like, what the hell is this girl doing? but I like prosciutto the most. Prosciutto is fun to say. Prosciutto is just funner to say than ham. Yeah, 2 years. Well, that's why real ham and prosciutto are like 60, 70 a kilo, and the one you buy in the supermarket is like 10. Well, to be fair, I don't exactly buy ham at all. Because at this point I consider it a waste of money, because I know it's gonna spoil before we eat the entire pack, and that's just really sad. There's literally some things that I really do enjoy, but like that I just simply don't buy because it's just gonna spoil, because I'm not gonna be able to eat it all. So, might as well not buy it if it's just gonna end up in the trash. My piggies are fresh. Actually, I should make my piggies fresh because I'm still wearing socks for some reason. Hold on. Ah, that is better. Good job, Savage. Good job. I can honestly say I forgot to take them off. It happens sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. Invite friends over, grab like 60 beers, and they will eat everything you have. Yeah. That is true. But then who's gonna clean up the mess? Nah, my friends are cool. They would help with the cleanup as well. Unless they were too drunk, then they wouldn't. Because they'd be too drunk. Yeah, that could be an issue. If they're too drunk and they pass out, they wouldn't help clean. Well, so here's the deal though. I don't do the dishes. Like, we have a rule in my house. Okay? Bruno doesn't make food. Therefore, he does the dishes. So I don't need to do the dishes. So I make the mess, but also make sure people get fed, and he does the dishes. Make sure that I have dishes to make more mess, essentially. People don't drink at bad end of the stick. Nah, not really. If you have good people around you, you don't really get that. Good deal, right? Especially considering that I do not like doing the dishes. So it's a great deal. I've done the dishes for many years, no more. But yeah. Okay. So yeah. But even then, I did make it a lot easier for Bruno with the dishes. He's just like, oh, I don't think it makes a difference. Trust me, it makes a difference, okay? So when I went to IKEA on Saturday, I got, for €7, a dish drainer? Strainer? How are those things called? The things that you... When you wash the dishes and you put them there to dry, what are those called? Strainer, drainer, container, strainer. A drip rack. Sure, a drip rack. Let's... A strainer or a drip... Because like a strainer feels more like a spaghetti strainer. Which sounds off. I don't know. So, I got one of those to use as vertical plate storage. which is a lot cheaper than buying actual vertical plate storage, because I did the math, okay? I would need to buy 3 vertical plate storers to fulfill the quota of plates that I have. In comparison, I would buy a dish rack and I would save myself like €7. So I basically got it for half of the price. Hacks, people, hacks. Miss Richie Rich, we can't afford those. We don't know what they are called. I just don't know things, okay? I don't know what they're called. In Portuguese, it's just escoador. It's just escoador. You know? If I say that on stream, I'm sure most people will not know what the hell that means. So it's not really an option. So I need to elaborate so that you can tell me what it means. Or what it's supposed to mean. Basically. Skirder? No. Escoador. I'm gonna type it in. I think that's how it's spelled. Oh no, that just goes into a strainer if you put that on Google. So you have to just write the pratos. Yeah, so, oh no, it's a escorredor. Sorry. It's a escorredor. This is the one for plates. The other one's for spaghetti. Basically. You're living with 2 people, you don't have enough. No, it's not that I don't have enough space to store plates. Is that I want to optimize the way I store plates so that I have to spend less time every time I need a plate. To essentially remove plates that are on top of plates to get to the plate that I want to get. Because before, we had the plates all nice and tidy vertically. I had like flat plates and then smaller flat plates and then the curved plates on top of those, like as a stack. Which every time I needed like a flat plate, I would need to remove all the other plates from above and just, you know, do that. So where is dishwasher? The dishwasher is in my kitchen. But that doesn't mean that you store plates in the dishwasher. Because you don't. Because that's where the dirty dishes go before they're washed. And why does Bruno need to do dishes? Well, because sometimes he will not do the dishes and he will not turn on the dishwasher. And he will then have to wash dishes by hand. And oh my goodness, there is a shiny over here. Hold on. Hello. You are not pink. You're also not what I'm looking for. Hi there, cutie patootie. How you doing, Hot Pip? Oh, I know exactly which Pokeball to use this on. Do I? Do I though? Wait, because there's this one too. Wait, so Hoppip goes green and then it goes yellow? No, it goes green, pink, purple. Well, we'll just start with the nest ball. It's matchy. It matches. It matches. Okay, so this is not the shiny we're hunting for. Found a shiny. We found a shiny. That's a cute one. That is a cute one. Where you going? Hold on. I missed a few messages. Hold on. So you have a dishwasher, but don't use it and let Bruno do it? Yeah, so Bruno basically is in charge of making sure that I have clean dishes, pots, and pans. And whenever he doesn't, he will have to wash them by hand for me to use. That is the rule. And otherwise, he's in charge of like making sure that the dishwasher gets filled up and turned on. So I don't have to worry about that. Because like regardless of whatever... We really need streamer Bruno to ask him how he stays sane. I have so many questions for him. Well, I mean, he does call me bossy. A bit. He has to fill a machine and press the button. Yes, but if the machine doesn't... But like, if the machine like doesn't wash the dishes properly, he has to wash them by hand. So... there's that as well. But yeah, no, he does call me bossy sometimes. Or like controlling, like a control freak. But that's okay. Imagine getting instruction by Tasha explain how to do one thing on 10 different ways all at the same time while doing something else. Y'all have never seen me cook. To be fair, my parents barely ever washed the pots because they took too much room in the machine, so they got hand washed. But like, using a dishwasher actually consumes less water than washing it all by hand. So like, just putting it all in the dishwasher is actually smart. In terms of like energy saving and stuff like that. Or like water consumption. So... oh wait, I didn't save the game before. Why are we talking about dishes, by the way? When did we get here? How did we even get here? Also, if you need the pots faster than turning on the machine every few days. That is true. I must agree with that statement. But also, why are we talking about dishes and pots? IKEA drip rack. Oh, right, that's how we got here. Because I hacked the system. I'm asking myself how I got here for 28 months now. And why I didn't leave. Could it be because you are entertained, sir? Tooting my own horn here. Tooting my own horn over here. But is it possible that you are actually entertained? By the hot mess express that is here. Toot toot. I swear every time toot. Every time toot. That damn song comes into my head. The damn Dutch song. With the jet skis. The song with the jet... Don't you... You don't know the song with the jet skis? There's no way you don't know the song with the jet skis. You, sir, are one of the best live television programs I ever watched. I'm just chaos, dude. I'm just chaos. But wait, Savage, how... you're Belgium. How do you not know the water jet ski song? I want you to sing it so you remember. Okay. I'ma do this one time. One time only. Ik heb een toeter op mijn waterscooter. Daarmee toeter ik naar jou. Ik heb een toet, ik heb een toet, ik heb een toeter, wow. This damn song! This damn song, I tell ya. And no, for anyone that doesn't speak Dutch, all you need to know is toet. That's the only word you need to know. As if I know now. Dude, I was about to be like, where were you under a rock? Yes, Polly. Exactly. If I know Man, I know that. Hey, no assumptions. I make no assumptions. So. So there's that. So, Polly, how'd you like the song? Polly's just like, why am I doing this to myself again? Ain't it fun here? Wait, what was the SpongeBob song? What was the SpongeBob song that Plankton sang? Oh my gosh. F is for da 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 da. U is for you and I. N is for never na 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 da 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 da. I don't know what the song is. I don't know what the actual lyrics are, but that one. That one. What's that song? The fun song! Yes, the fun song! Is it not called the fun song? Okay, this was fun to relax and confuse the brain for a bit, but I'm dead and off to bed. Tomorrow's another 15+ hour day. Have a nice stream and good night, dude. See ya. Polly, sir. Survive the heat, drink lots of water, have some rest. You got this. No, the plankton version. Not the SpongeBob version, the plankton version. The part where Plankton sings about doom and destruction. That's the version I speak of. F is for fire that burns down the whole town. U is for uranium bombs. N is for no survivors when you... Yeah, that's the version. That is the version that I was referring to. Because that version is way more appropriate for this hot mess of a stream. Also, the only reason I actually know the SpongeBob song is because of my sister. Because I've never really liked SpongeBob all that much. You and me version. Yeah, because I didn't remember the other version. But I said the Plankton song. I didn't say the SpongeBob. I said SpongeBob song, the one that Plankton sings. That should have been your idea. All I'm saying. Don't sass me, woman. As if. 'Cause you can't stop the sass. I'm not gonna continue that. We're going crazy enough today. It's only Monday. What's the rest of the week gonna be like? Alrighty, so... I am highly doubting if the flying sandwich is the vibe for this hunt. My week is gonna be comfy. Yes, dude. At least I hope. Well, my week is gonna be a hot mess. And I am very much not looking forward to going back to work tomorrow. Because I know the kind of work that I need to get done, and I don't want to do it. And if my dad's in stream, I'm still gonna do it, even if I don't want to do it. Basically. That's kind of the gist of it. Yes, Dad told me to do this very fun project where I basically need to grab this block of text, make it pretty, correct the mistakes, and then translate it into 3 other languages. The only part I like is the make it pretty part, which I think I have accomplished. The only other thing is he did say to have it in like 2 pieces of paper, and there is no way to reduce it any further than 3 pieces of paper. So, without it looking ugly, that is the key word. But yeah, it's so fun! Love that for me! Especially when it's about things that I don't actually understand or care about. But yeah, I can make pretty. I don't need to ask ChatGPT to make it pretty. I can make it pretty. I just wanted to not have to do the text part. But also, if I don't do the text part, then it's not gonna be correct. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is. And I have to do that in between, like, dealing with customers and stuff like that too, so that's always fun. Today I had the same client call us like maybe 7 times in a span of 20 minutes. Because they kept hanging up for every piece of direction that I gave them. Why? Nobody knows. Some weeks are less fun than others. True. On the other hand, I do have the 17th and the 18th off. So that's gonna be, I'm very much looking forward to those 2 days. I'm gonna go pick up my grandma from the airport. I'm so excited. I haven't seen my grandma like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Anyway. I was gonna say why? Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartbreak. My bit rate is currently in the red. Will the stream fully crash today again? Nobody knows. And we're back. I don't think we fully crashed, but I don't actually know. Timer reset? No, I don't think the timer reset. Got 3 bits earlier as well, but this was longer. I do not think that the timer resets, so this might have been something on your end. Did anyone else get blipped? I think the rest of chat is asleep. Yeah, the rest of chat might be sleeping. And that is perfectly okay. People deserve rest. So, there is that. There is that. But yeah. Time to uncover my 3 other personalities. Pom pom pom! I hope that pom 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 was appropriate. I mean, of course it was. We're shiny hunting for pom pom. Of course the pom pom poms are appropriate. I'll go make 3 accounts and just talk to them. Oh my gosh, please don't. That'd be so weird. I get confused so fast. Like faster than usual kind of fast. But yeah. Are you as well? Oh, hello, you. Good evening. We are all the same people, but we are pretending we are not the same people. But yeah. I want more pom-poms! I'm getting more pom-poms. I mean, you would not get confused, right? No! Of course not! I never get confused. Why would I ever get confused by something so simple to understand? Nuh-uh. Not me. I never get confused. No. That's just to confuse other people, not me. No. Also, hey, why are you Fusion? What has Fusion ever done to you? Well, let me see. Depends on what kind of fusion we're speaking of. Of course, obviously. I don't know where I was going with this joke, so I'm gonna shut up before I go anywhere else. I think that's a good plan. That's as far as I got in the joke. Depends on what kind of fusion we're on. Oh, I can talk about something else? Enlighten me. Did you hear about Anime Expo? I did not hear about Anime Expo. Would you like to share? Also, where? It was so crowded, people had to stand in line for the elevators and such, and the Merca. Yeah. I'm sorry, there's just certain things that are like clearly this was Merca. And it's not a dig at Merca, but like some things are just incredibly obviously something that will only happen there. Which is very weird. To say the least. Actually, let me ask y'all something. Maybe anyone can answer this for me. On the internet, there is always this meme of like the McDonald's ice cream machine being broken for like McFlurries and stuff. And I'm just like, I have never in my entire life been to a McDonald's where the ice cream machine wasn't working. Is this a myth? Or is this just it's a US thing, right? This is an America thing. Other countries have their ice cream machines working at McDonald's, right? I'm just saying this because the other day I went to get an ice cream at McDonald's and they would take it, but when they did, it always worked. Yeah! Cause like when I went to IKEA, me and my mom actually went to get some ice cream and like, it was working. Like you can just buy ice cream at McDonald's. And it's pretty good if you don't let it melt and you eat it immediately. You know? But every time I go on the internet and something about McDonald's shows up. It's literally people complaining that the ice cream machine is broken. And I'm just like, is it though? Like, always? Like, yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. Here's a counter argument. If it works, would you post about it online? I mean, considering how many people complain that it never works, I feel like, yes, you would post about it online when it does work because that's like a miracle or something. I don't know. You only do when something breaks or when something is a miracle. 30 seconds. So, like, I don't know. You're more likely to put up a bad review or a good one. I want to say good one. But I guess people do love complaining. So... I guess I should say bad one. If it's good, you're just happy. If it's bad, you want other people to know. It is true. People are very negative beings. Also, they love suing. Yeah, I don't understand how that works. Like, genuinely confused about how that works. So you can just sue anyone at like any time about anything? Like, why would you want to spend that money? Aren't you losing money if you do that? It just feels very counterproductive? I don't know. Just feels like a bad idea. That's gonna make you spend a lot of money that you probably don't have, in the hopes that you might win money that you don't have. But then the money that you won that you didn't have before is gonna be spent on paying the bills of the lawyers that you use that still need to get paid. So, like, you're not winning anything. It's very counterintuitive. I need to make another sandwich. I'm gonna save. Now, I don't have any more prosciutto. So we're gonna go back to an electric sandwich. We'll see how that goes. I think this sounds like a plan. Also, am I the only one that thinks it's really cute when my cats are in the tree and, like, you just see a little tail wiggling over here? Because I think it's cute. Just a little tail. Like, right there. Doing a little wiggle every once in a while. I need to buy more pickles. And more yellow bell peppers. It's almost like an animated element of stream. It's my cat and she's adorable. Cutest little thing. Alrighty, we got bell peppers. We've saved before the sandwich. She absolutely is. Yeah. They've actually been trying really hard to sneak into the kitchen because they realized that I was building things in the kitchen. But, like, I'm not building things in the kitchen for them. I'm building things in the kitchen for us. As in me and Bruno and the kitchen. You know? And that shelf turned out a lot heavier than I thought. The shelf that I was building yesterday. I did share the pictures with Savage. But, like, yeah, that shelf turned out a lot heavier than expected. Which, I thought it would be a lot lighter. But I guess it's a good thing that it's, like, on the heavier side. Because that just means that, like, if something happens, it doesn't, like, just crash and burn. which I guess is a good thing. Very optimized. Dude, when I finally, like, cause like we haven't really been stocking up on food that much, aside from like freezer stuff. We haven't been stocking up on food or cleaning supplies, so like when we finally stock up on those again, like, and those shelves actually get filled up, it's gonna be so satisfying. I might have to buy some baskets though, because I did realize that some things actually fall through the cracks, so yeah. And then I also got some fake leaves for like the balcony, which is also looking very clean. I have to redo them though, because like they don't, I kind of missed the spot, so like I have to like take it all out and put it all back on again, but yeah. Something from you own stock instead of running to the store every time. Exactly. I want my kitchen to be my own store. So yeah. Oh, those leaves were very glitchy. Very glitchy leaves. Okay, so we are back on the electric sandwich. And all we want is a sparkly pom-pom. But yeah. It's gonna be very, very satisfying to stock. Also, the real thing that I really do like a lot is the very, very simple fact that all we want is a sparkly pom-pom. If we don't find it this stream, definitely copy-pasting this for next one. Hold on. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. That's actually a good title, yeah. Paste. Okay, just gonna put it over there. There you go. There you go. Thanks for the title if we don't find it today. And that is an if. Because we shall find it at some point. I hope. I hope. Ooh, the yawning has begun. No, but like for real though, I am very much looking forward to just filling up my kitchen. My new kitchen pantry that is actually inside of my kitchen. For the first, like I should have done this. Like I am kind of like judging myself for not having done this sooner. Like genuinely. I just should have done this a lot sooner. Like everything that I'm doing this year in the kitchen, I'm just like, why have I not done this like 3 years ago? Why haven't I not done this like 4 years ago? This would have helped so much. Because like all the stuff is now off. It's now off of the floor. Which means you can actually clean the floor underneath it instead of just having junk there stacked on boxes. Which is great. I mean, think of it this way. It was time now, your life is gonna be improved. True, that is true. But it's one of those things where you're just like, I should have done this so much sooner. Why haven't I thought of this sooner? And yes, clearly I am now a grown-up, for I am getting excited about kitchen supplies. I mean, I always did enjoy going to a hardware store, but, you know, not like this. Not like this. But yeah, I got, okay, let me list what I got at IKEA because it's all very exciting, okay? So I got a dish strainer to serve as a dish rack because it was cheaper than buying an actual like vertical dish storage. Because those were like €4 each and I would need to buy 3. So if you do the math, that would be 12 euros. And I got mine for 7 because it's a dish drainer, and I can still fit some cups in there too. So I'm just like, I am winning right now. Winning. So I got that. I got some, oh, what am I doing? I got a drawer, like a little cabinet drawer thing with 3 drawers for my cat's cat food, which is finally organized and not tumbling down every time I pick up a can, which is also very, very nice. I got some spice jars because I buy all my spices in these little packets because it's the same quantity. Okay. Let me explain how spices work. There's probably some difference, but not big enough to justify the price increase. If it works, it works. Exactly. If it works, it works. Okay, now let me explain spices. Okay? Now, I'm a basic white bitch. Okay? I have my spice mixes. Okay? I have my spice mixes, which I get to the Dutch store, because those are the best ones, and they last me forever. And then I have my standard mixes, okay? I have my, like, dried onions, dried garlic. I have my paprika, and you know, oregano. Basic white bish. Yes. Bish. To keep it PG. Bish. So I got those 4, and then I have my spice mixes, which come in like a big bottle of like 250 like milligrams or something like that. So I got those. But the thing is, the lids on those jars, they keep breaking and like not wanting to close properly. So because you buy the jar once, and then you basically, instead of buying a new jar every time you run out, you just buy the same quantity but like in a plastic baggie, and then you shove it in that jar. And that's kind of how I've been doing things, but like those jars, the lids, they just break a lot. So I got a set of 4 at IKEA, which is perfect because I used 4 spices aside from the spice mix. So that just means I can now store twice as many spices in each jar, and the lids are probably gonna last a lot longer. I saw this reel about a dude who tried closing a box clamp like 10 times and it kept jumping open every time. Box clamp? What's that? That's not... that doesn't ring a bell. Like a lid clamp thing? Oh, you mean those lids that have like those metal pieces that you like click into? The recipient? How does that work? Or how does that not work? But those are just click, click, done. The math does not compute. 3 state, 1 kept unsealing. What? How? What? But you just click, click, and you're done. Like, how does... Unless it's broken, I don't see how one could not close that thing. Also, this is like sandwich number 4, and I did not actually change the counter. Which I should have done. I don't even remember where exactly I saw it, so finding that again can be a pain. Yeah, I'm not asking you to find it. I'm just trying to compute because the math doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I can't make it make sense. Because you just click, click, and you're done. Like, you use 2 hands to click 2 of them at the same time. So, like, how does one... Unless you do each side one at a time, but that's never gonna work. Markiplier? I did not go too much on the internet today. So if that's a today thing, no, I did not. If that's a last week thing, then I might not remember it. A few days ago with his Red Eyes Twitter post. Oh, honey. I am not on Twitter. Like at all. I don't even have an account on Twitter. I don't... Twitter has never been attractive to me. It's never been attractive to me. So I'm just not on it. It was all over the YouTube news? Oh, I didn't see it. Actually, I swear, I think shorts are kind of ruining the YouTube algorithm for me. Because, like, when you're watching shorts, like, you kind of end up skipping past a bunch of things that you don't want to see, but I guess the algorithm still counts it as, like, you seeing it because those clips are, like, 10 seconds each. And now my recommended is literally just a bunch of crap that I don't really care about. Instead of, like, showing me things that I might actually be interested in. Which just really sucks, and I don't know how to fix it. He posted a selfie with bloodshot eyes on his birthday from the hospital. Oh, dang. That does not sound very nice. Not very nice, no. And another one, and another one, and another one bites the dust. Bum, bum, gotta be shiny. Another one bites the dust. Okay, I need to stop. He's filming soon some TV show I was using too much fake blood, so it infected. Oh. Yeah, eye infections are no fun. Just eyes sometimes are no fun. Just as a whole, in general. Like, being able to see is very nice, but eyes sometimes are a pain. To front of your, because eyes are very... Yeah, eyes are just... Because, like, people don't... They don't... If they're not blind, they don't want to go blind. So, like, you obviously want to do everything you can possibly do to keep one of your senses, like, healthy. Especially such a key one as, you know, sight. Which is why I had to listen to my body and get glasses. To preserve the sight. But yeah. Oh, I'm starting to yawn. That's not cool. That is not cool. And tomorrow I am going to do something fun. For me. I got a dentist appointment! I'm very excited to go to the dentist tomorrow. Like, y'all have no idea. Yes, yay! Absolutely yay! 100% yay! I'm incredibly excited to go to the dentist tomorrow. I had to reschedule my dentist appointment because it was supposed to be in May. But because my coworker wasn't at work, like, I had to reschedule because I couldn't leave work. So I've been suffering, essentially. Because they only had the next appointment was for, like, tomorrow. So tomorrow I get to go take care of my teeth. I am incredibly excited. They're gonna put sealant on my teeth again, so it's less sensitive again, so I'm gonna be able to eat normally again, provided I'm actually hungry to eat. Very excited to go to the dentist. And I'm sure for some people I sound like a crazy person, including the one I live with. Bruno absolutely hates going to the dentist. And I honestly get so confused by people that don't like going to the dentist. Like, what is it that makes you not like going to the dentist? Like, I would like to understand. And I just can't understand because people don't have any logical reasons for not liking going to the dentist. Like, is it the sound? Because, like, the equipment that does the most, like, damage to your teeth are the ones that make the least sound. So, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, is it the smell? Is it the fact that you have to keep your mouth open for an extended period? I don't understand. Why don't people like going to the dentist? I really do need someone to explain that to me. Like, why are people scared? For me, I don't like the drill feeling on your teeth. Yeah, but like, don't they just use that? Oh, and that's 2 shinies on the day. Wait, does this complete the Pommy family? I think this completes the Pommy family. Oh man, which Pokeball did I use for Pommy before? I think it was the netball. Yeah, pretty sure it was this one. Or the heal ball, actually. We're just gonna use it. Shiny. Yay. I do not know how many shinies I've had so far. But that's the second one of today. Wait, try not to yawn. I need to save. I need to save! Let me save, game. Okay. Don't like the feeling of the drill. But, like, they give you anesthetic, though, when they do that. Like, how are you feeling something where they give you anesthetics? For cleaning? Oh, you mean the clean... But cleaning doesn't use a drill. No way, is this back to back? It's almost back to back. We just got the Pommy like 30 seconds ago. We got the pom-pom. We got the pom-pom. Shake it like a pom-pom. Like a pom-pom. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Look at this thing. It's a lot more white than I thought it was gonna be, actually. Wow. Just wow. Okay, catching it. It is white and yellow. And there's no Pokeball that is white and yellow. There's a Pokemon that is yellow and black, which is the Ultra Ball. How do we think about the Ultra Ball? I don't know, actually. Shiny! We got it somehow! I think the Ultra Ball is literally the only Pokeball that I can use for this. Yep, it's gonna be an Ultra Ball. There's no other choice. It sort of matches-ish. Wait, this is a level 6 Pokemon. What do you mean the Ultra Ball is not working? It's a level 6 Pokemon. I'm using an Ultra Ball. Come on. Come on. Ugh. Come on. Catch it, catch it, catch it, catch it. Yee! Let's go! And with that, we have now acquired all 4 Oricorio! Woo! Yay! I tried looking for the liver, but I don't know where to start, so I give up. Could have been anywhere. There are a few reels or a compilation video. Yeah, no worries, dude, no worries. Okay, so we're on 3 shinies of the day. How much sandwich do I have left? I have 12 minutes of sandwich left. Do we just roam around and see what we can find? It only took 4 sandwiches! This is not a little Leo situation! Wait, where do I find more electric Pokemon? I mean, I could go there or there. I say we go here. There's raids nearby. Sandwich number 2. Found it. And right when you gave up. That's usually when people find things, actually. At least for me. Usually when I give up finding something is when I actually find something. Down the mouse. Bum, ba-dum. Skipped to the relevant part. See if I don't get DMCA'd. Oh, I have it on mute. You're like, this dude's doing it wrong. You close both lids at the same time. Both sides. The dude's just doing it wrong. That's not my fault. It's not my fault either way. But it does matter. That's the whole point. It does matter. This is a 5-star raid. Is this a boosty raid? Is Brambleghast a boosty raid? No, it's not. I will like to keep this raid for when I'm done with the sandwich. So where do I mark this on a map? Aw, oh, dang. It tells me I've arrived. There we go. Final one stays closed. Wait, what? Oh gosh. The final one, though, stays closed, gives thumbs up. Opens. Yeah. I mean, if you close both sides of the lid at the same time, it usually stays closed. In my experience. So, like, I don't know how to react to that. You know? Daily Dose of Internet has some true gems sometimes. That is true. That is true. No one can deny that. I saw a dog video the other day that I actually sent to my coworker, where the dog was like just excited to see someone, and then they put this like song over it. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get striked if I actually play that. Hold on. Let me see if I can send it in chat. It's I saw it on Instagram. Am I muted? I am. How do I share things? Share. Hold on, we're getting there. Nope. Copy link. We gotta copy link. Copy link. I am trying to figure out things, okay? Give me a second. That one. Okay. And then if I do this and send, then that's the video. That's the video, basically. They could have chosen to not put anything or put a different song, but if they put a different song over it, it wouldn't have been the same thing. It wouldn't have had the same impact. I just laughed when I saw it. It was funny. Cute puppy. That do be a puppy. That looks like he's dancing. But yeah, basically that's kind of your daily dose of it. Like currently Instagram has been recommending me better content than YouTube has, which is very annoying because I do really like YouTube as like a platform. So that's just kind of sucky. Everybody do the conga. Shake your body and do that conga any longer. Conga go. And yes, I am pretending that I can speak that fast, but I cannot. For it is not even Portuguese, it is Spanish. Ish. Spanish-ish. But yeah. It was indeed the perfect song to put that video of the pupper on. I'll think of it this way. Do you watch anything else than funny reels on IG? Do you watch other things than funny reels on YouTube? Yeah, but here's the thing though. Like, YouTube doesn't even recommend me any good reels. That's my issue. Like, also the shorts section of YouTube, I feel like they kind of destroyed the algorithm that I had for recommending like long form videos on YouTube. Which just really sucks. Like if I go to my YouTube recommended from like, I don't know, maybe like 3 months ago, like the recommendations were like 10 times better than they are now. And I'm not even watching that many more shorts than I was before. And that's kind of the part that's like irking me. Is the fact that I'm not watching more shorts than I was before. I'm watching about the same amount, if not less, than I was before. But my long form videos on YouTube is just the suckiest recommendations ever. Like things that I have absolutely no interest in are being recommended and I don't know how to fix it. Like, is there a button that I can press to fix it? I was like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, there's a Shinx. There's a Shinx. Wait, this is the last one I need to complete the family. I thought the previous one was the last one I needed to complete the family, but it's not. It's this one. Ah! Oh, we gotta Ultra Ball this. Yeah. This is the right one. Have the whole family once I evolve 2 of them. But I have the whole family! Wait, that's 3 shinies with 1 sandwich. It's the second sandwich syndrome. Wait, we gotta look at things. We gotta look at things now. I'm so excited. Okay. I need to remove things that aren't shiny. As in... Well, a lot of these. Who has space? This one only has 3 space. This one only has 2 space. That one has 2 space. This one has 4 space. Okay. We got quite some chats to catch up on. Okay, wait, but I'm excited about the shiny. Wait. That one's shiny, actually. Hold on. Ah! I found a box with 3 before. There you go. Oh. Jasmine decided to wake up. Okay, wait. Okay, wait, is this a shiny? Did I have the shiny before? No, I didn't. Why is this Oricorio here? Move! You are not shiny! How dare you! Okay. So we have this Shinx. And we have these 2 other Shinx as well here. So I'm just gonna put this one over here. So that it's close together. And now we have the Oricorio. And then we have these 2. Ah, I'm so happy with today's shinies. I need to organize my shinies like in order of like who belongs with who. Okay, I'm very excited about this. Okay, let me just catch up a chat for a second. Hold on. You can block recommended channels you don't like. And we lost Sashi. Got quite some chats to catch up now. You won't remember what I was talking about if you don't read it now. No, I think I'm pretty okay. I think I'm pretty okay with the catching up. Okay, let's check if this is marked. This one's not marked. Oh, this one is. This one isn't, and that one isn't. You read everything above that? Pretty sure I did. Funny things on Rails, because you also watch other things. On IG, the majority of videos is funny Rails. YouTube is too big for just funny Rails. Watch more of the channels you like. Yeah, but I rely on the recommended to show me channels I like, because otherwise there's only like a handful of them. So, yeah. And I still have 55 seconds left on the sandwich. Woo! Which means I can start going en route to wherever the raid is. How often long do you watch YouTube? Depends. See, okay, if something like Trash Taste or like one of the like podcast channels that I follow like launches their podcast or like posts a podcast, I will 100% be watching that, which can be like an hour to 2 hours. Like easily an hour to 2 hours. And then there's like other videos that I watch, they're like 20, 30, 40 minutes as well. So there's actual options there. I want to try this raid. And it's a water type. So that should do it. Maybe the interest pool is not big enough for you. I have like 63 YouTube channel subs. Yeah, I have a lot of Pokemon channels. I'm gonna open this to anyone that would like to help me. Let me actually check. How many channels do I sub to? There's a way to see this, right? Okay. I sub to a good amount. The problem is that some of these channels, they like only post like once a month. Cause like I sub to like a lot of the animation channels which only send like one video per month. And stuff like that. The Pokemon Go YouTube people have also slowed down quite a bit in like posting videos. Like Zoe 2 Dots has been posting like once in a while. Trainosips has also been posting only once in a while. So there's like less content for me to consume. Yeah, I do subscribe to a lot of channels that only post like once a month, which is just, it is what it is. But then there's also like long form content. So like, I don't know. Like sometimes I see, like sometimes I'm watching a video and I'm like at the same time, like I'm scrolling through YouTube. Cause like if it's like a podcast video, then I'm like scrolling to YouTube at the same time to like see what else is there. But I don't want to stop listening to the podcast. So sometimes I'll see a video. I'm like, okay, if I don't touch anything, the video will still be here. But then something happens and the podcast just like, I don't know, takes too long and that page refreshes. So that recommended video disappears and I can never find it again because I don't remember in which channel's name it is, which is a problem. And that is my rant about YouTube's recommended videos for me right now. QWERTY is weird again? Oh no. Do I get the email yet? Oh, I do have the email. Hold on. Atiba? I'm stuck. What the hell? I don't... QWERTY's been dropping the ball for at least a week or two now. I don't know what's happening there. I'm gonna die. No, I'm alive. Really? Yeah, no, they're all kind of... Amoeba, Atiba. Nah. Love QWERTY. Wearing their shirt right now as we speak, but... they have been dropping the ball for a while. Which is sad. For their winners, they also have their loser days. Yeah, but there's been too many of them in a row right now, which, you know... I don't know. And you wonder why they do 6 mystery shirt sales sometimes. Because they probably haven't been selling. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like the months where they have the most like mystery shirts are the months where the shirts are kind of like eh. Yay, I got a spicy herba mystica. Okay, we're definitely gonna have to be doing more raids, but not today. I need to end stream. I'm kind of tired. My brain's kind of dead. I might not look like I'm dead, but like my brain is like just not here. Yeah, it is. If they just added more colored t-shirts with like good designs on them, I think the problem would be fixed. Essentially. I don't know. One extra color and on a more often basis. Yeah. Instead of just being all black or all white, just like add some extra color to it. You mean these ones? Like the orange ones are pretty cool too. Like when they have the orange ones. HP ups, dusk balls, and grandpa berries. So nothing. I had a Chulu one on green. Dude, a Chulu on green like actually makes a lot of sense. I don't know, when they put like random designs on like pink shirts or like yellow shirts like they did not too long ago. I don't know. Okay, lovelies, I'm gonna end stream. My brain is kind of fried and it's quite hot in this room. So I'm gonna put you guys on full screen so you can see me sweat. Or not. Maybe you can't see me sweat from there. But yeah, yellow was cool, but designs less so. Yeah, the yellow ones were a bit weird. They were a bit off. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So... Anyway, I'm gonna go. I need a shower because I can smell myself, which is not a good thing. I do not smell good right now. So I need to go do that, and then rest, and then tomorrow I'm going to the dentist. Yes. So honest. Why not? Dentist! I'm gonna get my teeth sealed. Why not? Whoa, Buffett. Yeah, no, like honestly, like once a year, like they put this, when I go in for a cleaning, they like put this like putty on my tooth and like with like the ultraviolet light, they like harden it. And it's like a protective barrier on my teeth because my molars are flat. Like they're straight up flattened. And there's almost no enamel left, which means they're very, very sensitive. If the wrong little piece of food touches it, it sends a shock throughout my mouth, and that is not fun pain. So they put a sealant on, which usually enamel. Is that not how it's called in English? Enamel? 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 Enamel. Well, I'm sorry, these aren't words that I usually pronounce in English on a day-to-day basis, okay? I thought it was like closer to Portuguese, because like that's... Anyway. Anywho. So yeah. Almost heard anema. Oh gosh, no. So yeah, so I'm gonna go take care of my teeth tomorrow. It's gonna be expensive. They upped their prices, but it is what it is. Not what you want at a dentist. No, not what you want at a dentist, no. But yeah, so I'll be back on Wednesday. We're gonna do some more tarot rates then. And hopefully there will be people to join me for those tarot rates. Because I need help. Can't do them on my own. So yeah, with that said, I'm gonna go and rest up and take a shower because I don't like smelling myself. It's not a good thing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So I will be back on Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. my time, which is 9:30 for most of Europe. Should be 12:30 PST and like 7:30 a.m. Australia Sydney time. Probably like 6:30 hour right now. I don't know if the time's changed there or not, but like something like that. So join me next time or not. If you didn't think that I was confusing enough for you, you don't have to join me, but you can. That would make me happy. Anyway. Hey, Tosh. Barry! I'm leaving! Why are you hating me? He's like, hey, bye-bye. Farewell. Expert timing. 10 out of 10 timing, dude. I'm sorry, bro. I gotta go. It's been 2 hours. Like, I would like to stream for longer, but like today's work task literally fried my brain. I don't know if you could tell that it kind of fried my brain. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Bye. See you next time. I'll be back on Wednesday. Join me Wednesday. I will return with terror raids. Because we need to do those. Because I need more herbs. Anyway, bye. Have a good one, guys.